I've watched it over the years and seen the results, and I think it's been great. Unfortunately, when I've spoken there's been about 100 people. And Dick said, come to Washington, we're going to have another one. Well, or 4 or 5 at once. I mean, this hall, I guess, is the biggest one in the Washington, D.C. area. And this is a hotel you do not want to stay in if you're playing the Redskins. Obviously, we never have. Because the coach would just die. He would see this thing and think, well, we've got to practice. There's no way you give a coach this kind of space, and we'll be in here day and night going walk through, and Daryl knows exactly what I mean. And it's fun to see Daryl too, because I'm got to be one of the oldest guys in the league, and Daryl's the only guy significantly older than me. And he's not even close. He's not even close. I love that. There's a lot of guys 37, 38, and then there's Daryl's 40. I mean, so then I read in the paper the other day, he ran 4.2 at 40, and he talked about it today. I would be very proud of it too. How many of you can do the thing exactly the way you did in college today? How many, really? I didn't think about it. Let's be honest, not much can happen in the positive that way, and especially your speed, if nothing else. And I know I'm not 4.2 anymore, so that's quite an accomplishment there. I have to say that I put Darryl Green personally in the Pro Bowl many years. In fact, he's so old that Joe Montana, I think Joe Montana put him in a few times too. Sorry, I'm sure you get all that. I don't get many chances to be the youngest player here. I'm very enthralled by it. So well, that'll be enough, though. That's plenty. I think we don't have time tonight. I started playing football when I was 8 years old, and it's been 30 years, a 30-year love affair of what I think is the greatest laboratory for learning about human interaction. There is no place like the football field to learn about yourself, about others, about teamwork, about all the issues that we need, leadership, sacrifice, why people love the game of football, why people watch it, and why people play it, really has a lot to do with what happens on the field. I started playing when I was 8. I was actually a running back. The coach's son wanted to play quarterback, so I played running back. And so we were down at elementary school, and I ran around the end and got hit and knocked down and knocked the wind out of me. And the first time it ever happened in my life. And I was on the ground, and my dad, who was an old football player, came running out on the field, laid me on my back and pulled my pants up, so I could get air. Feeling better. Out of the corner of my eye, I see my mom, who's at the game, start out on the field. And you got to understand, when you're 8 years old, this is all the neighborhood kids, and, no way do I want my mom get involved in this situation. So in my mind, and if you can think back when you were little, I go back. Mom, go back. Don't come out here and pet me or kiss me or do something really crazy. And she was marching right for me. And when my mom marches, she marches. And so it shocked me, and it's still great to tell this story, it shocked me when she almost stepped on me, headed for the kid who hit me. Is that great? Don't you ever hit my son again like that. No one fooled my mom ever again. And to this day, no one does. We put her in the upper deck at all the stadiums, except for RFK, the old RFK, where you get the first couple rows where you can't see. My dad loved those seats. Everybody's standing up. Why should I drive all the way down? He lives in Greenwich, Connecticut. Why should I drive all the way down there and see a game I can't even see? Talk to the owner, Dad. I can't help you. But so that's my experience in football. My dad's an old football player. My mom is a pretty serious football fan. And over the years, I graduated from playing running back to playing quarterback. And quarterback is, I think the reason why I played quarterback was that when everyone got in the huddle, one guy talked, and it was the quarterback. I want to do that. I don't want to listen. I want to talk. And so I started playing quarterback and have been playing ever since. And quarterbacking to me is one of the greatest experiences, teaching experiences that I could ever imagine. How can I liken it? It's impossible to put you in my shoes. One of the hardest things that I ever had to learn how to do was what to do with the ball once they gave it to me. Because as you know, it all happens. Life happens. And so some of you have quarterly reports or, year-long, the boss will call you in to see how you're doing. Mine happens every 35 seconds, I mean, it's like, I got the ball, what are you going to do with it? And a lot of the time, you really have to fight the natural urge to, I've got the ball, I don't want the ball. I want no part of this. And really, I mean, even today, even playing as an older guy who's played a long time, there's that natural human response. I don't want the spotlight on me. I mean, I wanted to talk in the huddle, but I didn't necessarily want to be in the spotlight. And so that has been a difficult thing to get used to. And you can think that the things that are natural are, when people come around you, and you can imagine Daryl, he plays defense, those big guys, I mean, they're huge. And I mean, they're getting bigger and faster, and they're not even Reggie White, who is one of the baddest men alive, he'd knock you down, but then he'd say, hey, how you doing, Steve? Good to see you. Those days are over. There's no one like Reggie White anymore. I mean, when they knock you down, a little something here, a little spit in the face, or a little, it's very, very serious business. And so when you have that happening around you, you can throw the ball and get rid of it, or, in times I've thought about this, just turn and run. Because it's wide open behind you. You don't have, why stay here? It's just nothing but grass. And so that, but the hardest thing to do in quarterbacking is to just stand in there. To literally, don't care about what's happening around you. Ignore it to the best of your ability. And really try to focus down the field where things are happening. And that, to me, has been the greatest metaphor for my life in standing in there. Not, doing what really is natural to all of us, the fight or flight. To literally turn and run, to go against nature, to fight upstream like a salmon, to go against the grain, to do things that are inherently difficult. I found the greatest satisfaction from living the metaphor that I learned on the field. Now, football, the reason why I think it's the greatest game ever is that we are the living metaphor for everyone else's experience. In other words, we're the guys that drop the ball, instead of when they say at work, hey, you dropped the ball. Well, you didn't drop the ball. You metaphorically dropped the ball. We drop the ball, We, get tripped up. We, get sacked. All those things that we fumble. Like, hey, Joe down the hall, he fumbled that one. Well, no, we really do, What does that feel like? What is that like? I mean, most of the mistakes that you make in your life, I don't think there's 80,000 people watching. Hopefully. Really, think of your biggest mistakes in your life. Most of them happen maybe when no one's watching and you can hide them and lie your way through it and not face it. Or you can, enough people that you can change your story or you can get them in your corner, And how many times that I'm on the field and something happens where I throw a perfect pass, of course, and the big, huge defensive lineman, not of course, but every once in a while. I'm thinking of this one experience where it's a perfect pass to Jerry Rice and there's this big defensive lineman and it's like he's fighting to get to me and all of a sudden, and he throws his arm up and hits his arm, and the ball tips up in the air and he's like, and you're like, that was a perfect pass. It was a perfect spiral. It was perfectly thrown at the perfect time. Do you know how hard that is? Do you not know how much time that, and so, you go to the sidelines and you want to take the microphone and say to the crowd, that was not my fault. That's the natural experience. That you can relate to that. And that's why the metaphors are so real, because they happen right there where you have to face the natural man part of us. One experience a year and a half ago, we were playing in the playoffs, and in Atlanta, and it was a chance to go to the championship game. And it was in the fourth quarter, and we were down, I think, 10. And so we needed to score a touchdown, then maybe win the game. And we're going in to score the touchdown, and we call this pass play, and the receiver goes down, and he's supposed to turn in. And I throw the ball, and he turns out. And so the ball ends up getting intercepted. And literally, that lost us the game. That was the event that you really have to say sealed our fate. Until then, we really had a chance. But after that, it was over. And so, you're in a real kind of interesting place, because the whole country's watching, San Francisco really intently, and then everyone that you know, obviously. I mean, it's really, you're out there. You're naked. And now you've thrown the interception that lost the game, that really ended the season. And Darryl will tell you, fighting in football, starting in July, and going through the whole thing, and getting to January, and having 60 minutes decide your fate and your whole year, it really gets intense. And the whole town, and even the Redskin fans, you become a part of it. I mean, how many grandmothers have run up to me and hugged me? Oh, you're my grandson. No, I don't know you. But you have an affiliation with what's going on in the field. And remind me at the end of my speech, I have a grandmother story for you. But those are the things that happen, and so after the game, we go in the locker room, and the media is right in our face, and of course the question is, what happened? What in the world happened on that pivotal play? And what do you say? Do I say, oh well, Joe Schmo, he didn't do the right thing? You can't do that. It's just not. It's against human nature, but you can't play the blame game. That'll come back to bite you. So you say, well, it just was one of those things, and now we have to, unfortunately, go home, and it's been really hard. But that's the hardest thing to do, is not turn and say, he messed up. It was his fault. He did it, not me. I was fine. I'm absolved here. But this guy, he messed up. So then, interestingly, in that experience, they go to him, this player, and they ask him, well, it seemed like you were in the area. What was the deal there, I did my job. Which, again, is very natural, right? In that moment, to not say, I turned, I did my job. And that was it. That was no one really knew to ask more, because why would you? So on we went. And I thought to myself, how hard that must be to be in that position for both of us. I was older, much older than this guy, and so he was obviously learning some of those real-life metaphorical experiences that are not metaphorical in football, that you have decisions to make in a very tight time frame on how you're going to behave, how you're going to act, what's your standard going to be, what's your integrity level going to be, where are you going to live. And not when it's nice and easy, but when you're under pressure, when the light is on. And a few months later, we're at minicamp. A good friend of mine, the same guy, walked up to me and said, hey, about that thing in the game, I'm really sorry about that. That was, because we'd never talked about it. And I thought that was a great lesson. That what a great thing to do, to kind of go through that whole process. 202 times in my career, I've dropped back to pass. The team has given me the football. The organization, the city, and said, Steve, do something good. Make something good happen for us. We trust you. We think you're a good player. Go do something great. 202 times. Think about that. 202 times. I went out there, took the ball in my hand, and threw it to Darryl Green. I mean, not being metaphorically. Right? I mean, a couple of times, but I mean metaphorically, 202 times. And so there's this moment where the whole team, the offensive linemen, their job. You don't watch them very much, but their job is horrible. Talk about a differentiation in workforce. I mean, these guys are huge, and their job is to protect me. That's their job. And they're in there, and they love their quarterback. I mean, and they're fighting. And 202 times, they look downfield and like, oh my gosh, And they look back, and there's this moment when I am now, again, I'm back here naked with the light on me. The ball has now been intercepted, and my linemen look back to me. And what do you? I don't know. I don't. And what do you want to do? What do I want to do? I want to say, the son, the big, huge, fat guy, he did something to me. You just want to say something to get away from that pressure of the mistake. And so on we go to the sidelines. And, every once in a while, one of the big guys will say, well, what happened? And you really have to, most of the time, you have an excuse. You do. I mean, it's just the game happens so fast. Something happened. But every time, you really need to learn, and this is one of the greatest lessons of my life, that every time it happens, 202, I turn to the big guy and tell him, you know what? I messed up. But I promise you, I will not do it again. I promise you, we are going back out there and we are going to win this football game, and I will take you there. 7 times. 7 times of 202 times. The next pass, I did the same thing, 3 interceptions. Now that's a moment to have them turn around and say, they want to almost steal the ball from you at that point, But 7 times, I did it right again. But what do? Man, I am so sorry. I can't believe that happened again. But I'll tell you what, we're going back on that field, and we're going to make it happen. And you know what? I've watched quarterbacks through the years. I've learned from some of the best. I've watched others try to deal with it. It is something that you have to deal with. And some handle it better than others. I handle it much better than I did when I was younger, which is normal. But in the end, I really think one of the best qualities we can have, and not metaphorically, but literally, is the ability to say, I messed up. I can't believe that happened. And then even gather in more than your mess up. Be willing to take accountability for the extra part, the human factor, the guy that turned the wrong way, the funny bounce of the ball. Because I think accountability, when it falters, when it falls apart in a family, in a business, in your job, anywhere in our society, when accountability falls apart, we really we start a blame game that never ends, and it never gets corrected. And part of that accountability are all the great words that we learned when we were younger: integrity, honesty, truth. And I think that my experience playing NFL football, the greatest experience I could ever imagine, has taught me that one thing. And have I done the right thing every time? No. Did I take responsibility and accountability every time the right way? No. But I have learned over time to try to do that, to take the experience on the field and learn those vital lessons. So, for all of us, metaphorically, I think we ought to maybe give it some thought and learn those great words. Hey, I messed up. I can't believe I did it. And when I over the years I've spoken for Bridges and I see the lives change, one of the real metaphors that we talk about out in the business world or even at home is being on the field. You're not on the sidelines, you're on the field. And I can't tell you what it means to be on the field. I've been plenty of time on the sidelines and I've been plenty of time on the field. And there's a huge difference. And then really the funny thing is it's a little white line about this wide. And doesn't even raise itself off the ground. I mean, getting over it's not that hard. But it is a huge difference from being on the sidelines and being on the field. And you can talk about, from the sidelines, you're always saying, oh my gosh, why didn't he do that? Why? You guys have done it too on the TV. What is he thinking? We all can see that, And I said, I told my coach when I was younger, he would say, well, just hit the open guy, Now, coach, point him out and I'll hit him. I can't see anything. Because half the time, you can't. These guys are so big. So stepping over that white line and getting on the field is the experience that we all want. And in the end, failure or success, we cherish. It's not hard. It's hard to lose, but I'll take it way any time over sitting on the sidelines. Sitting on the sidelines is pretty safe. There's no risk, and you get a good look at the cheerleaders. Except in Washington, well, they're the new cheerleaders, right? They got the new cheerleaders, right? Back at RFK, there's some with the band and the cheerleaders together. Man, there's some interesting people out there. But they've sniffed it up now. They got the new stadium. But when you're on the sidelines, that's what you do. You check in. But being on the field, and that's what Bridges does. It gives people a chance to step over that line, to get on the field, to find out what they're capable of. And the amazing thing, and I wish we could forget my speech, bring up the kids and let them tell you the experience of stepping on the field, the opportunity to go play. And then you see what you can, the dynamics and the synergy of society. Give people a chance to go make mistakes. Learn to say they're sorry. You don't learn anything on the sidelines. You don't learn anything in the meeting room with the coach, looking at anyone can draw a line and tell you that that's going to work. But out on the field where it's dynamic, where it's tough, everyone wants that shot. It's the human experience. And Bridges, that's why I'm such a big supporter. I really believe that the greatest human experience is getting on the field. And if you can give a guy or a girl a chance to get on the field who might not otherwise do it, you have done something dramatic. And I am a big fan. And so if you have the opportunity to hire, to employ, to give another chance, to forgive, to do anything with a young kid that needs that chance to get on the field, I say in a million years, do it over and over and over again. And we'll start some good stuff. And then once they're on the field, we can teach all those great metaphors. So I'm excited. I love the game of football, and I love the Bridges Foundation, and so that's a pretty good deal. And I hope that all of you go home and can kind of help this cause, because it's only in 9 or 10 cities. And we should spread the gospel, because this is really a great thing to employ kids and get them on the field. So thank you very much. I was going to tell you my grandmother's story, right? I reminded myself right there at the end. I'm going through the airport in San Francisco. And when you go through the airport in San Francisco, after you played a long time, everyone knows you. Hey, Steve, hey. It's like a small town. So you're walking down, and, hey, Steve, yeah, how's it going? Great, all right. So you're working your way down to the gate. You go, hey, okay, great. You get down to the gate, and they check you in. Hey, Steve, how's it going? Oh, great. Yeah, seat. Okay, great. So then you go over and sit down. You wait for your flight. And there's this older woman next to me, 80, And she turns over and kind of reads her paper, and she looks and throws back her paper and looks. And she goes, you look a lot like Steve Young. And I don't know why I do this at this point. I guess because by the time you get down to the gate, you're kind of like a little bit tired of the same thing. Like, hey, yeah. So I said, yeah, I don't, yeah. And the people say that a lot. And she kind of stays a minute and says, I don't like that guy. Now what do I say? Neither do I. That's what